In the last video, I started to talk about the principles of NLP, and I said that it was going to be a series, and it is, and I've already got the next ones in preparation. What I want to do today, though, is take a little bit of a detour from that, and I want to talk about personal development, which is what this whole Mindset Academy thing is all about, really. It's not just about NLP, it's about personal development in general. And I want to talk about my own personal thoughts about NLP, some own personal musings. So maybe this is going to be a little bit self-indulgent today. I hope that's okay. And I hope that actually in some way it's useful to you as well. Now, I know that I will have said this before, so apologies if I'm repeating myself. Personal development is not something that we get from books. Now, it is important to read books because we get new ideas from there, we get new information from there. But personal development is about thinking about what we read in the books. It's about thinking about how that applies to our own life. It's about adding our own ideas to it. But when personal development really starts to happen is when we go out into the world and we start practicing what it is that we're learning. Another way of saying personal development would be self-improvement. Now, if we want to improve something, we have to have a benchmark of what we're improving against, and we need to have some feedback mechanism, some way to know how we're doing. Now, if you want to get better at playing golf, for example, it's very easy. At the end of every round, you've got your scorecard that tells you exactly how you're doing. If you want to get better in a sales environment, in a sales job, again, it's very easy because at the end of every month, you've got feedback on how you did compared to the month before and the month before that. Personal development is not always so easy to get that feedback, although it is there once we start to learn how to notice it. Now, one of the reasons it can be difficult to measure is because people are not specific about what it is that they want. There's a phrase that I hear a lot in personal development, and I'll be honest, it grates on me a little bit, and that is that I want to be a better version of myself. The reason it grates on me is because not the principle of it, because wanting to be better than you are is fantastic. That's what this whole personal development thing is all about. But what does it mean? I want to be a better version of myself. And more importantly, we can't measure it. And if we can't measure it, then it's hard to improve it. One area that I've been working on recently is about becoming a more grateful person, about developing the attitude of gratitude, if you want to use the buzzwords that's around a lot at the moment. And one of the reasons that I'm doing this is because it makes me feel good. Now, I spent the weekend, I was at a rock festival. I'll tell you a bit more about that in a minute. But I spent the weekend camping in an extremely muddy environment on a not very comfortable airbed, and I wasn't as warm as I'd like to be. Last night I slept in my own bed. It was warm and it was comfortable, and I had the best night's sleep I've had for a long time. Now, it's very easy, and this is probably what I used to do, it's very easy to get out of bed and just completely ignore that fact and just get on with the day-to-day stuff that's going on. But actually taking a moment in the morning to appreciate the fact that I've just had a good night's sleep in my own bed and how nice that is makes me feel good. It's a good way to start the day. And also it starts me thinking about actually how fortunate I am in the world, because there's a lot of people not only didn't have a nice warm bed last night, didn't have a bed at all. They slept in worse conditions than I did when I was camping. And it's not just people in other countries, a lot of people in this country as well. So it helps me to remember just how fortunate I am. And this is not about becoming a bleeding heart and going out and wanting to change the world and help all the homeless people have somewhere to sleep. That would be a great thing to do, but it's not what I'm talking about here today. What I'm talking about is by being more grateful for what I have in my life, it makes me feel good. So why wouldn't I want to do it? One of the great things about personal development is you can practice it anywhere and you can get feedback anywhere once you know how to look for it. You don't need special equipment, you don't need a special environment, you don't have to wait for a special time of year. It's around us all of the time. So this festival that I went to, it's called Download Festival. It's round about 100,000 people in a big field watching rock music. It was fantastic. The weather was not kind to us. It'd been raining for a week. There was places where it was ankle deep in slush, and I'm not exaggerating there. Walking around and listening to other people talking, you hear things like, the weather's terrible, The queues are too long. This hasn't been organised properly and that hasn't been organised properly. It's not the kind of food that I wanted. And the food's not very good. And it made me realise that, I don't know how long ago, but that used to be me. And it's not anymore. I walk into that field and I think, wow, what a feat to be able to organise this. Someone had to organise that big stage being put there. Someone had to organise all of this fencing around, all of the security people to make us safe, all of the checkpoints, all of the tents, all of that food didn't just happen. People had to organise that. And I just start thinking about what an incredible thing to make this happen. And I've started to realise that I have moved on from where I used to be. So getting more specific with this, there was a place every day where we went to buy breakfast and I was getting coffee as well. And this wasn't instant coffee, this was proper barista coffee. The lady was grinding the beans and she was making the coffee exactly as you'd see it in Starbucks or Costa or anywhere else that you buy good quality coffee from. Now you might know that it takes a little while to make good quality coffee and the challenges are probably double when you're in the middle of a field and you've got a massive queue first thing in the morning. And the coffee was served in paper cups and they were writing people's name on the bottom on what kind of coffee they want. And at any one time this young lady had got probably 30 or 40 cups in front of her. And she was working her way through them as quickly as she could. And she wasn't slacking, she was working really hard. But what was really interesting, I was watching other people and a lot of people going and taking their coffee when their names were called and not even making eye contact with her and a little bit of a thank you and walking away. And I went up to her and on the second day, I said to her, thank you for getting up so early to make coffee. I really appreciate you being here. And she smiled and we didn't say any more about that. We didn't get into a deep conversation because she'd got more coffee to make and lots of it. But she smiled and I could tell that she appreciated me being appreciative of her. And it's a really simple thing to do. I felt good for doing it. And I know that in a little way, she felt good for receiving the comment as well. So there's feedback again that I'm doing something that a few years ago I wouldn't have even thought about doing, let alone done. More specific feedback that I get as well is that it wasn't as easy as I would like it to be. Just to make that comment, I thought about it before we did it. It didn't just come out. It's something that I thought about and practiced. What I'd really like is for that to be just the natural thing that comes out of my mouth. And another bit of feedback that's there, very subtle, if I choose to look for it. On the first day, when I'd been waiting for maybe 10 minutes for my coffee, I walked up to the counter and had a little sneaky look to see where my cup was with my name on it. Now, I didn't directly say, can you get a move on with the coffee? But actually, my behaviour is kind of doing that in a little way. So although I'm getting the feedback that I'm really pleased that I took the time to thank this lady, the feedback that I've got is I can still get better at this. And that's the great thing about personal development, isn't it? There's a great phrase that says, go as far as you can see, and once you get there, you'll be able to see further. And that's what it's kind of about, really, making improvements and then seeing little subtleties of how we can get even better. And I carried this idea a little bit further the next day. There's a lot of security people around who seemingly stand around and doing nothing. And what they're really doing is they're standing there in case something happens, that they are there to respond to it. But because they're not doing anything, they almost become like traffic cones, and people almost treat them like traffic cones as well, almost ignoring them. So again, I went up to a few people randomly and just said, thank you for being here. Thank you for keeping us safe. And by the way, I'm not preaching here. I'm not making out that I'm really good at this and I'm better than anybody else, because I'm not. It's something that I'm learning and it's something that I'm practicing and it's something that I'm getting better at. I'm just using this as an example. But what I think is happening here, people appreciated the comments that I was making to them. I read a story, I think it was in one of the Chicken Soup for the Soul books, and I don't remember it too well, but it was something like a teacher saying something to a pupil one day in class, something like, well done, you did a great job today and thank you for helping with whatever the kid helped with. And then 20 years later, that kid found the teacher and said, thank you for saving my life. because I thought I was useless and I thought I was stupid and nobody appreciated me and I was going to go home and kill myself that day. But because of your comment, I realised that wasn't true and you saved my life. Thank you. Now, I'm not suggesting that going and saying thank you to a security person at a rock festival is going to have that kind of impact. But the point of that story is we just never know what impact that our words are going to have on other people. And it's really, really simple, isn't it? Just to say thanks to people for as you go through your day. I'm not suggesting that just because I say thank you to a security guy that that's going to change his life. But actually, you never know how your comment is going to land. If someone's having a really bad day, just that little thank you could actually turn their day around. But just think, if I give a little thank you to somebody, if I give them a little bit of positivity, then hopefully they take it home with them. Hopefully that means that they have a little bit of a better day because of my actions. But if other people are doing that as well, if they've got 100 people saying thank you, I appreciate what you're doing here, they're going to go home and they really will have had a better day. And just start to think about the knock-on event of that. Because if they go home in a better mood, they take that better mood into their home environment and that rubs off a little bit on their family around them. And if their family around them have had other people giving them positive feedback, then they take that into their day. And it's like a ripple effect, isn't it? It gets smaller with each person that it goes out through, but we never know what difference our little action is going to make. So I'm not suggesting here that you should start developing your attitude of gratitude, because that's what I'm working on at the moment. I'm sure you're working on something else. I guess what I am talking about today in between all of this rambling is have a specific area that you're working on with your personal development. And then look for opportunities as part of your day-to-day life of how you can practice that. And look for ways as part of your day-to-day life that you can get feedback for that as well. Now, I also appreciate that when I was at that concert, I was away from my day-to-day environment. I'm away from my work. I've got no emails coming in, got no people phoning me up, nobody expecting anything from me. So it's a lot easier for me to be in that particular mindset. I'm not suggesting otherwise, but there is opportunities around us all day, every day for practicing what it is that we want to be learning and what it is that we want to be improving. What I want to leave you with today is the thought of just how easy it is to positively impact other people. Saying thank you to people and really meaning it is just one way to do it. There must be thousands of ways. But what's really great about it is it positively impacts them, but it positively impacts me as well, because I feel better when I do it. So it's a genuine win-win situation. So then the thought comes to me, if it's so easy to positively impact other people, why don't we do it more often? And the only possible reason that I can come up with is because we get so wrapped up in our day-to-day lives that we forget to do it. And I know that I do that from time to time. But what I want to do is start paying more attention to do this so that I can become more consistent at it. As we go through our lives, we're sending out ripples into the world. Are we sending out ripples of negativity and entitlement, or are we sending out ripples of gratitude and positivity? And we all have a choice for that.